Welcome to Sister Power. I'm Sharon Thomas Yarbrough. Our topic, I Can't Breathe, Stand with Black Women. No matter how subtle or extreme the case may be, most black women I know have some sort of experience with racism. And that's because there is no corner of society where it doesn't exist. From the emergency rooms where doctors don't believe our pain to the boardrooms where our competence is questioned, black women are constantly having to fight twice as hard to get even half of the respect we deserve. In addition to fighting ourselves, we're constantly having to fight for others too. The climate of what's happening across the world only shines a brighter light on that. Following the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, the world has suddenly erupted in upheaval demanding that their killers be brought to justice. They're finally rolling up their sleeves to help black women do the work we're already been doing for centuries. Aloha, Walterine and June. Welcome back to Sister
Aloha.
Power.
Hello. Hello.
Aloha.
Thank you for joining us for Stand with Black Women. And I want to start off by, talking about the pandemic. And Black people are disproportionately getting and dying from COVID 19. Early data indicates African Americans are bearing the brunt of the coronavirus pandemic in the U.S. So, what is your advice to women, Walterine and then June, for women to feel safe?
My advice would be to stay safe by wearing a mask. We move about from the store to other places, not knowing if the person standing next to us is a coronavirus carrier or if they had the active disease. So I would advise anyone, please wear a mask. A lot of times you see people that are out and they don't wear masks. We see mothers in stores that have children that don't have on masks. And it grieves my soul because people are dying every day. As a Black mother, educate yourself. Listen to that part of the news that would teach you and show you what you need to do to protect yourself and your family.
And I want to reiterate very quickly, Waltrine, that at one time you were a nurse, right? You're a former nurse.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what? I'm glad you asked me that because I really sympathize with nurses. And oftentimes when I'm out and I have to go someplace and I see people walking around with no mask, I feel that I really would like to say to them, even though you're so selfish that you don't care if you are a carrier, there is a nurse there at the emergency room that will be waiting on you, and she has a family. And oftentimes, people don't think of that. It is so selfish not to wear a mask. And I'm sure there are people out there that are listening to what I say, and it may sound like a judgmental call, but protect yourself, protect your family, and protect those around you. You can be a carrier and never know it.
Thank you, Walterine. Jill, what is your viewpoint? As you have
Well,
your mother there with you, and you have your husband, and you have a brand new grandniece.
right. We have been, I call it being good citizens because we have stayed in and monitored ourselves and stayed away. And when we're out and about, we do use our masks all the time. I really do try to stay home as much as possible, but like all of us, you have to get out, you've got to shop and all of my doctor's appointments, they're all through video, etc. But I see a lot of this too. And right now in Arizona, it is mandatory that you wear a mask. And my mission, the world of Junie Girl, the art of loving people, is based on a scripture. And I'm going to give you that scripture. It's Philippians 2:3 and 4. And it says, let nothing be done through selfish ambition or conceit, but in lowliness of mind, let each other esteem others better than themselves. And let each of you look out not only for his own interest, but also for the interest of others. So that being said, we are all individually responsible. Another thing that I believe in is I, me, you, my. We are individuals. And if we don't individually consider the other person, whether it's our children, our neighbor, our spouse, we have to consider that. And I find it it's sad, and it's hard to understand how people feel like it's not important. And you're seeing a lot of young people are now being brought into the ER, and they're sharing their story and saying, I didn't listen. I thought it wasn't going to happen to me. And now I'm in the hospital, and I can only hope that I'll get better, because I wouldn't wish this on anybody. So, I continue to pray that people will get it, but there's so much divisiveness in our nation right now that, everybody just wants to do their own thing, and it's costing us. It's
Yeah,
costing.
it is. And they'll get it. Just we have to keep praying for them. Then let's move forward.
Mhm.
What I read something from Jasmine Grant, and I posted it on my Facebook page. And it says, Dear Black woman, it's okay if you need a day off from fighting racism. If Black women are to survive, Walterine and June, we must tend to our mental health first. Let's chat about that. Our mental health, what is going on, and why. Why are we affected so much harder than our non-white?
We are we are the victims. We are the projects of racial violence. And so for myself, a Black woman, a Black mother or mentor, a Black grandmother, it hits home when sometimes I have to tune out because there has been hangings day after day, and they're called suicides.
Mm.
Within me, I know they're not. I can't read any further on some days. I have to sit back, meditate, and I allow myself to feed on the positivity that has brought us this far.
Thank you. And June, I sent to you and Walterine, I was also watching my girlfriend's show, Latanya Washington, and they were speaking about systemic racism. And this is what one of the physicians says: we are always in a state of alert. And that's what people
Mhm.
don't understand. We're
Right.
always feeling tense. Let's talk about that, June.
Mhm.
Well, it's interesting. I watched the Reconstruction Era on PBS again. I've watched it twice now since the death of George Floyd, because I'm trying to be able to share with people why this is so painful. And when you look back at history, one of the moderators on there said one of the cruel ironies of Reconstruction that Black people could claim certain rights in the 1860s and then have to fight again for those same rights in the 1960s. And that's the issue. We continue to have to keep pushing, keep getting getting better, keep enduring. And it's like when I was a young girl in school, I can remember I was a decent student. I would get a lot of A's and B's, and in spite of my A's and B's, I was taught you still got to do better. And so in your mind, you think, well, what is better than the A? I got the A. How much better does it have to be? And so, I didn't understand that. I understand what they meant now, but that's not right. Why should we have to do that? But that's part of the problem. And it's one of the reasons why we don't always feel as good. You don't know what you can or cannot do. You don't know if you have the means to do the things you want to do. It's just hard. It's not an excuse because we have endured gravely over the years, but it's difficult to reckon with. There comes a point where you just want to feel comfortable in your own skin, not worrying about those things. And no matter what, even today, I can see it. I have seen it recently just because I observe people, and you can tell that there's a little tension, in the workplace or in the store or in the person in the line. You can just kind of sense and feel it. And I think, why do we still have to go there? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, and this affects our mental health. We have
Yes.
hypertension, we have diabetes, breast cancer. This state of alert consistently 24/7 once you step out of your home. And most of the times we're out of our home. Well, due to the pandemic, we're working from home. But
Right.
this is a time that we need to take care of ourselves. And I would like to let the women know that take off that band aid. It's all right to bleed.
Right,
Yes.
right.
So let's move forward and let's see how should we go about giving advice to our young Black women and girls?
I'm so glad you asked that question. Educate, educate.
Yeah.
I said this before. If you don't know your history, you don't know your present, you will not know your future. A lot of times, our children see their present, they see their future on TV. They don't realize, they don't understand that they are actual kings and queens. They don't understand that the washing machine was invented by a Black man. They don't understand that the stoplights were invented by a Black man. They don't even know that the cells that were made to generate a cell phone was made by a Black man. We have to educate our children and empower them mentally, physically, and spiritually. Because all through this, the George Floyd situation, and people are coming out and they're supporting us. And I'm praying and hoping that this does not die. But the fact is, when we realize we were brought over here as property, we were brought over here as property. So some individuals will always see us as property.
Good
So my
point.
advice is to any woman, educate yourself, educate your children so that they know they are somebody.
I love that. And June, before you add your piece to it, I want to leave a quote, and you can also speak on that from Nelson Mandela, and he quotes, "Fools multiply when wise men are silent."
And that silence is really what has crippled us. I can remember when I graduated from high school, it was a time where I graduated in 1970. It was a time when the African American community was studying and bringing about the changes in colleges and schools to teach African American history, and it was a really big deal. And I don't know, I mean, I didn't go to college at that time. I went later, but I don't know if there was just a lot of people that studied it, that got into it, that understood it, and then it just sort of waned, like so many things do, because there wasn't a consistency, there wasn't a need. But if you have read and listened to the news, you'll know right now, African American bookstores, their books are flying off the shelves. People are interested in the history. I went to I watched Selma again the other night. I've been watching a lot of those different movies because it's a reminder and it's educational. And it's hard for young people. They have no idea what happened with Selma if they don't read it, and if they don't see the movie. They do not know the sacrifice that was made and the people that died, to say the least, of all that happened prior to that. But it was so interesting to be reminded how, as the movie portrayed it, Dr. King was a strong man. He just kept pushing. But when they walked Selma on that bridge, and they had the clear access to walk across it, he was concerned about the health and the welfare of all those people that were walking with him, because he knew what happened prior to that.
True.
And there were some that said we should have gone on, and some that said no. But in the movie, as they portrayed it, Dr. King said he followed God. He heard God tell him what to do. And when you go look at his history, you know that he was a man of God. He was a man of nonviolence. And when you consider nonviolence, I mean, people think that you're just a wimp, but it takes great courage to not have revenge.
True.
As that young lady said,
Right.
So it is about educating. And I'm hoping, I've shared with so many people, and I've emailed a lot of my friends, and I've told them, go to PBS, watch the Reconstruction Era, because that's a lesson. You can learn a lot just in those few hours of watching that. If you never read another book, you'll learn a lot about why Black people feel the way they do today, and really why it's justified.
Okay, thanks, June.
Yeah.
And Walterine, it's a journey to come from pain to power. Where do you see the future?
I see the future. I really believe that a change is coming. I really believe a change is coming. It's like June said, as you look back and you look at the different movies, you start reading the different incidents from where we came to where we are now. I believe that a change is going to come. I believe as we educate, we will be more supportive of each other. I just mentioned that in 2018, the Black community spent $1.5 trillion. We need to be more supportive of Black businesses. Black business individuals need to make sure that they're putting out quality goods. We need to support each other.
Oh, that is so important. Black money matters as well.
Yes, it
And
does.
it does. In
Yes.
June, what do you believe the future holds for the Black Lives Movement?
I think that this, it started some time ago, but it's worldwide now. And it matters to people, and it makes sense. And I think that, unfortunately, George Floyd's death had to open that door for the world to see. Sometimes it takes something really bad to make something good happen. But now people are aware, and people are thinking, and we do have a very varied, we have all groups of people. It's very diverse. And that's important. And so we have strength in numbers now. And I don't believe that it's going to wane. I don't. I believe that it is going to grow. I believe that young people are going to take an appropriate attitude. I believe that they are going to be the difference makers for our future. And I'm excited about what can happen, because It's been a long time coming, a long time coming. It's unfortunate that it took so much pain to get here, but that's nothing. Remember, we've been doing this for how many years?
Mhm.
We're
400,
calculating 400 years. Yeah. So
more.
yeah, definitely more. So I'm believing that it is going to be it's not, I was going to say a strong finish. We're moving in the right direction.
I like that confidence and continually to motivate and empower us. And we should not apologize for our history. And that's another
No.
thing that I want to just briefly
Mhm.
touch on. It's our responsibility to build confidence with each other. And Walterine, what can we do where we are? We're building confidence. We are supporting one another with our dollars. What's next?
To move forward,
Mm.
just to move forward. Don't stay stagnated. Move forward. And you know what? We are our brother's keeper.
Amen.
If we can
Amen.
Mm.
remember that we are our brother's keeper. So for me, I sum it up with education, unity, moving forward, and being supportive to each other, becoming mentally, physically, and spiritually empowered.
Oh, I like that. Let's touch on voter suppression. I know we need to vote 45 out, take the Senate, and keep the House. What else do we need to do, June? Let's encourage the young people to get out and vote, vote, vote.
Vote, vote,
De-
vote.
Definitely, and there's a lot of things that are going on, and I do believe that term limits are an absolute. There has got to be change. We've got lifetime politicians that are just raking in the bucks. They can talk about what they every time it's time for them to run, they tell you what they're going to do. But let's face it, this situation with with African Americans in this country have been going on for a long time, and all those people who are there now were there then, and all of a sudden now they want to be involved, but they've been there the whole time. So I have a hard time believing that it's going to be that much different because they have a political lifestyle, and that's critical for many of them. Not to say that everybody, but I always say there's a lot of good politicians, but there's too many that are not. And those that are not, as my godmother would say, one bad apple spoils the whole bunch. And they have made a lot of spoiled apples,
Yeah,
if I
they
could say it like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense. Because you need to have a conscience. That's another
Yeah.
thing that we must have a conscience. So let's speak directly into the camera, Walterine, and then you, June, and just speak candidly what you want. We have to continue to empower, motivate, and educate Black women. We are the cultures. We're the leaders now.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
You know, I simply want to say to other Black women that are out there, the struggle is real, but you can become a overcomer. Find a good sisterhood to become a part of. Empower your children. If you have a good man, treat him like a king, and he will turn around and treat you like a queen. Always have a positive thought each morning. Let the negative go along with the negative friend, and empower, educate your children.
Love that. June.
Yeah. I can't say it any better. I agree. Sister to sister, we as women are an integral part of this planet. And so much of what happens because of us. We are decision makers. We're single parents. We struggle with issues, and we just get through them. We deal with so many things. We're friends to, I mean, we're counselors, we're mediators, we're just so many different things. We are strong and we are capable. And we have to be loving and kind and considerate, you know, be humble, uh, be willing to forgive and forget and let go, because to not forgive is like taking poison yourself. It doesn't really bother anybody else. And then to just set goals and decide that you're going to be a difference maker. And I always, sometimes I feel like, oh, I don't get to do much, but I do everything I could do every day right here in my home. I recognize I could be a good wife, like you were saying to my husband, or I could be, whatever. No, I'm going to be a good wife. I'm going to be a good friend. I'm going to make those phone calls and see how my friends are doing. I'm going to have my prayer time and pray for people who may not be in the same position as me, or there's a lot of people struggling different than I am. That doesn't make me any better, any worse. I'm going to die just like everybody else. But I'm in a position where I can be a difference maker. And I believe that that's what it's all about. And as women, we just have that quality about us. And, it's a gift that just is unique to us. And I agree with Walterine. Just educate your children, help them be better citizens, because they are our future.
Yes.
Thank you, Walterine and
Yeah.
June. Aloha.
Yes.
Aloha.
Aloha. Hi,
Hi.
I love this. I love you, ladies.